What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at the Rotan Pathfinder, which is a fat tire e-bike. Taking a look at the specs, this bike has a 750 watt motor, a 48 volt 15 amp hour battery, 26 by 4-inch CST fat tires, a 8-speed shifter, hydraulic disc brakes, app connectivity, built-in cruise control, and includes fenders and a rear rack as well. Inside the box, you get the charger, your headlight, and a nice zipper bag. Inside the bag is your manual, the pedals, and your assembly tools. The bike was very well packed, so I'm happy to see there was no damage on the bike. Similar to most other e-bikes, for assembly, you just need to install the front wheel, the rear rack, the handlebars, the pedals, and the front headlight. All very easy and done with basic tools, so even if you don't have any experience with bikes, you can still very easily build this bike as well. Taking a look at the bike itself, green just happens to be my favorite color, so I absolutely love the color of this bike. It's a very nice dark green color and is pretty unique compared to most other e-bikes. Taking a look at the bars, this bike has a unique feature I have not seen on any other e-bike before. So there's a little toggle here on the bars, and this is a remote lockout for the front suspension. Simply click this in and it'll lock out your suspension, and click it on the other side and it'll unlock your suspension. This is very cool, as with most bikes you have to do the adjustments on the suspension itself, but with this one you can easily adjust it while you ride right there on your bars. Taking a look at the screen, you have a nice color display which has all the information you need. This bike also has Bluetooth app connectivity, which we'll go over shortly. Coming to the front, you have a nice large headlight which looks like it should have a pretty good output and dispersion, but looks can be deceiving, so I'll be sure to test that out once I get a chance to do a night ride. Coming to the back, you also have an integrated tail light which also lights up when you brake as well. The battery on this bike does mount from the top, which I love to see, as it's just much easier to insert and remove versus trying to squeeze it in from the bottom. As I said earlier, this bike also has app connectivity, which is this app here called Key Disc. So you go to the Play Store, download that, and from here you can turn your lights on and off on the bike. So you can see over here, on and off. Then you have your pedal assist levels. I'm not sure why you would want to adjust your pedal assist levels from your phone, but you can do that as well. Then it also tracks your mileage from your ride, total ride time, and total mileage. Over here, you can set your units if you want it in miles or kilometers. Going to more, you can also adjust your speed limit and your wheel settings. Speed limit is limited to 32. Then going back, you have your riding record, you have navigation. So it also tells you your navigation speed here. Then you could also put a location in here so you can use that to navigate with your bike. Then over here, it'll show you where your bike last was. This is dependent on Bluetooth, so I'm not sure what exactly you would use this for, because in real time, you can't really see where your bike is if it was stolen. But I mean, I guess if you put your bike somewhere in your house or in your backyard and you have a large backyard and you're not sure where you put it, I guess you could come here and see where it's at. Then you have vehicle info, which in this case is bike info. And it tells you how long you've been riding. It does a check on your bike to make sure everything's okay. And I think that's about it for all of the app functions. All right, so I just wanted to point something out real quick. I actually started doing this review a few days ago, but I actually turned around and headed back to my house because something seemed off with the bike. And basically what was wrong, well, first off, to access your setting on this bike, click this plus and minus button, and that'll bring you to this screen here. So yeah, like I was saying, I started riding the bike, and on pedal assist 1, this bike was going 20 miles per hour, which is way off. Technically, on pedal assist 1, you usually get somewhere around 6 to 7 miles per hour. Then as you progress, it goes up and up. But since it was already going 20 miles per hour on pedal assist 1, pretty much 1 through 4 were all the same, just a little bit more torque, but they were all getting around the same speed. And the problem is, this was not set properly. So if you get this bike, I mean, maybe it's just my bike, or maybe they'll see this video and correct it on future models. But basically in here, you have your pedal assist percentages. So you click that one.
And then right here, you see, this is what I have it set at now. So I have 25, 37, 50, 75, 100. Before, number 1 was set at 50. Then it was like 60, 70, 80, and went up from there. But 50% on this motor is already pretty quick. So right now I have it set to this. I don't know how much of a drastic change this is going to be. For all I know, 25% is still going to take me 15 miles per hour. I don't know. But basically what you're going to have to do, and it's going to vary based on your weight, is just be in that menu and just set one ride and get it to the speed you like, and then keep going down from there. I think this should be okay, but then again, I don't really know. And then while you're in these settings, you can also change it from 0 to 5, 1 to 3, 0 to 3, or 1 through 9. Most of my bikes have the 1 through 5. Well, we'll go ahead and do 0 through 5. I like having 5 pedal assist speeds. If you wanted to more finely tune it, you can go 0 through 9. That's going to give you the best variation of speeds in between. And then while you're in here, you could also set the maximum speed. This bike just goes up to 31. That's the most you're going to get on it. Might be set a little lower when you get it. I did increase mine as well. And then you have a few different settings here as well you can take a look at. But again, to get that menu, you just hold down the plus and minus here, and that'll bring that up, and you just navigate from there. Well, this review is off to a bad start. Nothing to do with the bike, but I just rode around for a good 20 minutes going over a lot of the things on this bike, and I stopped and figured out that my microphone was plugged in wrong. So all my video footage just had static and me just moving around my hands like this with no sound. So here we go again, starting over the entire review. All right, so one thing I did notice is this bike is very easy to pedal. Even with the motor off, there's not that much rolling resistance, just as long as you're not on a very high gear, or you are gonna feel that. But that applies to any bike. But I've had some fat tire e-bikes where the rolling resistance was pretty bad. You can definitely pedal this even if you don't have the pedal assist on. You can see right now I turned it off. You can definitely pedal this bike, no problem at all, if you had to. And I have regen on right now, so this is actually bogging me down a little bit. As you can see right now, I'm at negative 34 watts. So as I'm pedaling right now, I'm actually charging up the battery. So that's pretty cool. Not many e-bikes have that regen capability. I've seen it on a lot of scooters, but I think this is the second e-bike that I've reviewed that has the regen on it. But typically it adds a little bit of resistance to that rear wheel. But with this one, I didn't feel it as bad as the other bike I tried, which was the Engwe Engine Pro. That one, even with the motor off, even with the power assist off and the screen off, I still felt a high amount of resistance from the rear wheel, and it was almost impossible to pedal it without power. But this one, you can definitely pedal it without the motor, no problem at all. Yeah, so one thing I'm not a fan of on this bike is this little shifter. I mean, it shifts fine, it's perfectly fine, but you just have that number 1 and number 8 and then a dot in the middle. As for everything else, you kind of just have to eyeball it and guess what you are based on where that little orange stick is at. So it's not really easy to figure out what gear you're actually on. I like to know what number I'm on depending on how I'm riding. But with this one, you kind of just have to shift up and down and kind of guess where you're at, or not just feel where you like it the most. But the good part about the shifter is it's definitely a lot more low profile compared to other shifters I've used. A lot of these e-bikes use that really ugly Shimano turning shifter, which I talked about in another video, which I hate the way it looks. It looks like a big, large, clunky shifter. It looks very ugly on an e-bike. Usually I like the Shimano Atlas, or I always forget the name, but there's two of them that sound the same, but they're more low profile looking. They just look a lot better. But this one is just as nice as one of those. So while it doesn't have the numbers, I think I'll take that trade-off over having to look at that ugly Shimano turning shifter. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the turning shifter on an e-bike. It shifts perfectly fine, but I just hate how big and clunky it looks. All right, so as I said earlier, I did change the pedal assist speeds, as they were too fast before. So let's go ahead and give this a try, see what we're getting. All right, so pedal assist 1, it looks like we're at 7 miles per hour. Probably got to up that one by a few percent, just to get it up to about 8 or 9. That'll probably be a better spot. Pedal assist 2, 11.5. I think I have that one set pretty well. And number 3. All right, so casual pedaling on number 3. Looks like we're going about 17. I probably got to dial that one a little bit down, as I usually like number 3 to be somewhere around 15 miles per hour. And the last time I checked a while ago, number 4 was too high. So right now, number 4 I'm getting 22. I think I'd like it to be around 20. Again, all you gotta do is go in the settings and change it to the percentage you want. This is just the values I like and feel most comfortable with on most e-bikes, and I think the transition makes sense for me, but you can set it however you prefer. So let's go ahead and shift it to number 5. Very casual pedaling. Let me turn off over here because I'm getting a whole lot of wind, which I'm sure is slowing me down. All right, so number 5, casual pedaling. Looks like we're getting about 22.5. Let's go ahead and push it, see what we can get. Go all the way to number 8. 29 miles per hour. Definitely a great speed. A lot of these e-bikes top off at about 26, 27. It's always good that a bike lets you go up to the maximum value of the motor can do, which seems about right at 29. So I'm definitely happy with that top speed. I mean, you do got to pedal quite a bit at 29, but it's a good thing is even when you're going fast, you still have a lot of traction on the pedals. So you're not pedaling like a hamster. You have a good amount of friction on that 8th speed, so you can get to that 29 pretty easily. If you don't pedal as hard, you'll easily get about 27 or 28. So components wise, everything seems pretty good in this bike. So this bike has a 15 amp hour battery, and that's about average compared to what most e-bikes have. I think the average on a 750 watt bike or even a 500 watt bike is typically about 14 amp hours to like 17 amp hours on the upper end. And then the most you can get on any e-bike currently is 20 amp hours, unless you go to a dual battery or just like a very large moped style kind of battery. But standard removable battery on most e-bikes right now, well, all e-bikes, is 20 amp hours. So 15 is pretty good. The e-bike that I use a lot, which was my first e-bike, it has a 14.4 amp hour battery, and I take that one regularly on a 20-mile ride with my wife, going about 15, 17 miles per hour the entire time. And I usually get home with about 30 to 40% battery left. So those speeds, you'll probably get about 30 miles of range. This has a 15 amp hour battery, so you get a little bit more. So I think 15 amp hours is like the perfect battery for most people, because while having a larger battery is nice, there is the trade-off of a heavier battery and weight on the bike. So I think 15 is a good medium to keeping the bike not too heavy, but also having a good amount of range as well. All right, so let me go ahead and test out these brakes. Very nice. Not much pressure at all. These are hydraulic brakes. And going 17 just now, I barely got to push it and it stops me very, very well. And then as you can see now, if you hold down the throttle for about 5 seconds, you do have cruise control. It's very nice to have. You can just relax your hands, stretch out your fingers for a bit, because after a longer ride, your hands do get cramped up a bit. So this is very nice to have. This throttle is linked to what pedal assist speed you're on, so you can just set it to the speed you know that pedal assist will go to, hold it down full throttle, and you don't have to worry about really trying to find the right spot to get the speed you want, because at the maximum pushing of the throttle, it's going to lock out at that speed. So right now I'm at 13.9, 13.8, which is the maximum that you get at that pedal assist level. And then you just let it go, and your cruise control is enabled, and you could just coast along and go for a nice comfortable ride. You can use this to go to the store or something, just relax, similar to a moped or a motorcycle. pretty cool to have. This is the second or third e-bike now that I've had with cruise control, because it wasn't very common until just recently. Before, mostly scooters had them, but I'm really happy to see that a lot of e-bikes are starting to get this feature as well. All right, pedal assist 5, full throttle. Yeah, I felt the motor let up, and you can see right now it let up a lot. It's only going 390 to 450-ish watts there, and it's keeping me about 22 miles per hour. Yeah, so on throttle you are limited to that speed, so if you want to unlock that full speed, you want to go to pedal assist 5 and pedal. But that's kind of the pace of most e-bikes, because the legal limit for a class 3 bike is for it to be limited to 20 miles per hour on throttle. A lot of these bikes let you unlock it anyways, which I honestly prefer, but the more common scenario is that it's going to be locked to that 20 mile per hour range on throttle only. Yeah, so overall this is definitely a very solid bike. Good price, good specs, good brakes. I have no real complaints about this bike. The only thing I had was that pedal assist values set badly out of the box, but once you get that fixed, this is a very nice and solid bike. Everything on it works well. I really have no complaints. So if you're looking for a nice fat tire e-bike with good power, this is definitely a very solid option to look at. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.